Hamas is blaming Israel for the death of a 4-year-old boy in Gaza. The boy's father carried the body to Gaza Shifa hospital on Friday during a visit by Egypt's Prime Minister. Hisham Qandil called the child's death a tragedy. Israel denies an airstrike killed the boy. Mohammed Suliman is a blogger and activist. He joins me now on the line from Gaza. Mohammed, if you would, will you take a moment here and describe what you've seen, what you've heard over the last 3 days?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, over the last 3 days, there have been many bombings and shellings which targeted several areas across the Gaza Strip. I live in the north of the Gaza Strip in a neighborhood called Al-Karama, that is Arabic for dignity. And I lived through many Israeli escalations, but last night I can say was one of the most terrible nights that I had to live in my entire life. There have been, there were about 30 bombings which targeted my area, and most of the families had to leave the area and go to places which they think might be relatively safer. There is a complete blackout in several areas in the Gaza Strip. There is no internet access, and people are trying to avoid being in the streets because by being in the street, people are actually jeopardizing their lives. By merely being in the street, I feel that I can lose my life at any moment. So it's completely dangerous to be in the streets. While talking to you now, I can hear Israeli drones, overhead, and every now and then there's sporadic bombing. So the situation is really one of a situation like where there is a state of danger, and one can actually fear for their lives because it's not a safe situation.
So, Mohammed, if you would, how does that feel to be living in this kind of a situation? Anxiety has to be very high. I wonder, how does that feel for you personally, physically? How does it feel, and how's your family?
My family is well. Well, actually, last night, as I said, I lived through many Israeli escalations, but this specific Israeli escalation is unprecedented. I mean, the level and the frequency and the scale of Israeli violence is horrific. The number of Israeli shellings last night was massive. Like there were, as I said, about 30 bombings which targeted just my own area throughout the whole night. And I mean, as I said, I feel that I can lose my life at any moment if I go out of this. But the thing is, like, I have to be on the move constantly. I have to keep moving between different areas just to be at an area where there is electricity and where I can access the internet.
Hey, Mohammed, before I lose you, how does this end? In your view, you've mentioned that you've lived through past instances of this. How does this end?
How does this end, sorry?
How does this end? How does the fighting end this time around?
Well, usually, I mean, now I don't think that it's in Hamas' interest to continue with this cycle of escalation. I mean, it's not also. I mean, it's not Hamas who started this cycle of violence, and usually it ends when both sides, one side has to make a compromise, and it seems this time Hamas has actually been able to dominate the rules of game, of the military game against Israel. Like usually Israel, when it Gaza, it does not expect a response from the resistance movement in Gaza, which is as harsh as the response which we witnessed coming from the Palestinian resistance movement in Gaza this time. So I don't think that Israel is going to make the compromise, and I don't think that Hamas is going to keep silent if Israel escalates and bombs more areas. I mean, the number of people who were killed so far is 20, which is a huge number.
All right,
so
Mohammed.
I think.
Sorry, we're starting to break up a little bit, but I appreciate it. I think we got the gist of what you're saying. Mohammed Suliman is a blogger and activist joining us from Gaza. Yuval Ben Ami is a Tel Aviv resident and blogger. He says people are feeling insecure after the Gaza strike on the Israeli capital.
To be honest, it seems that the Iron Dome system does block a lot of the falls. Certainly, we were misled to believe that there will be no missiles at Tel Aviv range because the first day of attacks, we were told that all of the underground arsenals were destroyed. And then suddenly a missile hits Tel Aviv area. How else are we being misled?